Hello everyone, welcome back to Steam 2022. I thought we'd start this year off with a friendly competition hosted on vr.vex.com. They have come out with a new challenge called Planet Hex Bug. Last year it was Coral Reef Cleanup, and we had a number of students across the school participate in that, and we had some high scorers who were on the leaderboard. You know who you are. This is your opportunity once again to get yourself onto the leaderboard and perhaps even do better than you did in Coral Reef Cleanup. This particular challenge is a fair bit different. There's a lot more variables, a lot more things that are changing. There's a bit more chance involved. It is a bigger map, and you're about to see exactly what that looks like. Let's get started. So as you can see in our environment, we have some food. We have an enemy. Both of these things can be avoided, or perhaps you want your hex bug, Nano, to go towards them. As you can see here, we've got a map, and we have our starting point, which is home. That's where Nano starts, and the rest of the map is able to be explored straight away. There are some areas that you will find some higher level enemies, but you will primarily start in this area here with level 1 and maybe even some level 2 enemies and quite a bit of food. Now, as far as that grid reference, we've got 1,000 millimeters for each grid square. So 3 grid squares would be equal to 3,000 millimeters, just to give you some reference. We have our blocks down the sides, same as Coral Reef Cleanup. And we have a battery, 100%. Now let's have a little look at what we're going to start with. We basically want our hex bug to get the food in front of them. There are 2 pieces of food that we can see. So we're just going to do a repeat of 2. And we're going to go towards the food and just make sure that and don't wait is turned off. And we've got, once we've gone towards the food, we've got a pickup. So we're going to pick up that food. And once we've picked up the food outside of that repeat, we're going to return to home. And we're going to see what happens when we do that. When we get to home, we're going to do another repeat. We want to drop off that food. And hopefully by dropping it off, we're going to see an increase in experience, because we do need to level up. Level 1, as I've found, is far too low to actually go toe-to-toe with any of the enemies on the map. Even a level 1 enemy would be too powerful. So we're going to level up to start with just by dropping off some food. We're at level 2, and we're going to find that we're just a little bit more tough when it comes to some of those fights that might happen later on. Now, at the moment, we aren't doing anything. We want our hex bug to move autonomously, which we've talked about what that means before. We want it to do some things automatically. As you can see on the map, there are lots of obstacles, trees, branches. There's an obstacle right in front of me, 345 millimeters away. We want to use some of those obstacles to create a little bit of automation. We want our hex bug to bounce off these obstacles and continue moving around the map. This is really similar to Coral Reef Cleanup, where we were using the distance sensor to detect the edge of the coral reef, and it would keep itself in, but at the same time it was moving around, and that's what we want. We want some movement, but we don't want to just be clicking play and getting it to move each step individually. We want it to do everything itself. So we've got a forever block, we've got some conditions, also known as controls, we've got some rules. Okay, we want our hex bug to act on some of these obstacles. Now, big difference between Coral Reef Cleanup is normally we'd use a distance. In Planet Hex Bug, we're going to use obstacle distance. So we're specifying what distance we're measuring. We're measuring obstacles. Now, really interesting about that, we're using a less than block. So if obstacle distance in millimeters is less than 50, we are going to get our hex bug to do something. We can also add another one. If hazard distance is less than 50, we are going to get our hex bug to do something. That's going to allow our hex bug to not only avoid things like trees and branches and rocks, but also avoid going into the water, because if you go into the water, your mission will fail. So we're just setting up some rules that we want our hex bug to follow to ensure that it stays inside the map. Once it's done that, we are going to get it to turn right. Now, we're not specifying how far right. Do we want it to turn right infinitely? Do we want it to turn right 90 degrees? We're just going to go with something a little bit open-ended, and then we can come back and fine-tune it and perhaps use some distance in millimeters. We'll see what happens here. We're picking up the food. We're returning to home, and we should have some movement after we've returned to home because we have an obstacle. Hopefully, there it is. Awesome. And now we've got some automation. So we've got our hex bug turning right and moving forward. We'll see what it does after this. Primarily, we do want it to collect some more food because we do need to level up. And also, we're losing some battery life as we move. Okay, let's see if it goes for this. Nope, it's going to go right past it. Okay, we'll need to go back and fine-tune that. With these coding challenges, it's always about tweaking. It's about problem solving. And sometimes it's about debugging if you make a mistake. So we'll see if that turn right and drive forward is going to work for us or not. But we want it to collect some food. So we're going to do some fine tuning here. And we're going to see what we can do with some other conditions. So we've got an if then else, which should be familiar to most people. Okay, so if, for example, the food is a certain distance away, then we can get our hex bug to move. Else it's going to do something else. We'll see what we go here. Okay, awesome. Let's use this or. What that's going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to set up multiple rules, and it's all about food. So we've got smells food, and you guessed it, sees food. So if our hex bug smells food or sees food, one of the two, it is going to act on it. What it's going to do is it's going to go towards that food, and just make sure you tick off that and don't wait. Okay, now when it goes towards the food, we want to pick the food up. However, we could just get it to eat it. I'm going to allow you to kind of to tweak that. It might be eat. It could be pick up. It depends how you want to do it. Did you want your hex bug, even if it's on 100% battery, to still eat food? Or did you want it to collect the food for later on? Hint, hint. Okay, remember, I'm not going to give you all the answers. I'm just going to lead them towards them and hopefully give you some success. But it's all about maybe going back and just tweaking, debugging some of these blocks that I'm putting in. Okay. All right, let's see if it goes towards this food here. It looks like it, and it should eat it, and it should take us to 100% health, okay? Now, we don't really need to eat this next bit of food, but it's going to do it anyway because we're telling it to, all right? So maybe that's where you might want it to pick food up, all right, okay? Let's see what happens here, and okay. Yeah, let's bump up the speed just a little bit, because it is moving a little bit slow. You're going to find that it moves really, really fast in Planet Hex Bug compared to Coral Reef Cleanup. All right, now I've left this else here for a reason. We have lots of enemies on the map. They are a great way to get experience. So what we're going to do is, if our Hex Bug doesn't see food, we're going to get it to try and see an enemy. Okay, so if in here, I think. Yep. Okay, if our hex bug smells an enemy, might work. I think the hex bug needs to be fairly close to do that. We'll see what happens. If it smells an enemy, then we're going to go towards the enemy. Tick that and don't wait. And we're going to attack the enemy, which is going to be back in actions. Here we go. Attack enemy. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, you can see the speed is greatly increased. It's just going to allow us to problem solve a little bit quicker. We don't have to wait for everything to play out really, really slow. Okay, it's eating a lot of food. It's prioritizing the food over the enemies, by the way, guys. That's because it happens first in the code. Ooh, there's an issue. So it smelt an enemy, and because it's part of a forever loop, it just attacked an enemy that wasn't there, purely because it smelt it at some point. Doesn't have to be right in front of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to tweak this a little bit as well. We're going to add some more rules, okay, in our control section. Adding rules allows you to be a little bit more accurate. It's reducing the amount of chance-based events, which is always really important in programming. Let's see, we've got repeat until. I actually saw a block that would work really, really well for this. If I can get it to go there. We'll see. Here we go. Okay. Repeat until, and we'll put attack enemy in there. There's a really good block that I saw. Not. There we go. Yep. Repeat until not under attack. Yeah, there it is. Repeat until not under attack. So if your hex bug is being attacked, it's going to attack back. But if it's not under attack, it's going to move on. It's going to be really important. We don't want it to just stand there and just attack endlessly when it's defeated an enemy. Here we go. So it's under attack, and then when it defeats the enemy, it shouldn't be under attack anymore, so it should move on. There we go. Cool. Get some food. Perfect. Probably didn't need that piece of food, by the way. That might be where you want it to pick up some food. It's going into the ocean. Let's see what's going on there. So we need to fine-tune something. It's probably to do with that obstacle section. You can normally trace it back, depending on if it's having an issue with an enemy, then it's going to be about that enemy part of the code. If it's having an issue with food, it's going to be about the food part of the code. If it's an issue with an obstacle, it's going to be back at that first bit of code about obstacles. So I'm actually going to specify a turn. I'm going to get it to turn around instead of just to turn right, because the turn right could be anything from a 1 degree turn to a 360 degree turn. So we're being a little bit more specific, and we're just going to keep that drive forward in there. I don't want to change too many variables. Something that I know that I go on a lot about, but very important. You don't want to change too many things at once. We'll see if that drive forward still works, or whether I need to have that as maybe 200 millimeters. Okay. Moment of truth after this. We'll see if our hex bug goes into the ocean, or whether it makes a 180 degree turn and turns around. Let's see. So far I'm sitting on level 2. Okay. Yep. Oh, awesome. There we go. That was a 180 degree turn, and it avoided the water. Made all the difference. Went and got some food. Missed that enemy. It must have it's maybe seen or smelt some food. It's dodging the obstacles. You'll see all. Oh, okay. That was a little bit better, not a whole lot. I kind of want to see what I need to tweak here. I think that was to do with an obstacle. I could be wrong about that. Let's see. We got turn right 180 degrees. That seemed to work. We got the drive forward. I think it was about the enemy, because that last enemy, it just went straight past it. So I think we could tweak this. If we go by the same rule as the obstacle and the food, I don't see why we can't use this OR block here. So we've got smells food. Oh, sorry, smells an enemy. And we have perhaps sees an enemy. So it's acting on things that are up close but also at a distance. Just going to give it a little bit more of a chance of fighting some of these enemies, I think. Let's see. Okay, it's getting lots of food. Interesting. It is acting a little bit differently. It's kind of missing a lot of enemies, but it is getting a lot of food. Okay, there's one. Gee, I was pretty high level by the time I came across this enemy because I'd eaten so much food. You will get more XP if you return the food to home, by the way, guys. There's a little hint for you. I haven't returned to home for a little bit here. I am exploring far and wide. Look at that. I'm level 3. That's awesome. You'll notice the attack and the capacity's gone up, which means I can hold more. Hint, hint. I know I'm kind of hinting at that a lot, but that's something that you should be looking at, is how to hold some of that food. Okay. Whoa, these are different. Some bigger enemies. They look like level maybe 3s or 4s. What are they? See, I'm kind of missing a lot of enemies until I get the food, which I would prefer to fight the enemy and then get the food, because that way my health's getting reduced and it actually warrants looking for food rather than just going in at 100% and no food around. Okay, I've defeated that enemy. Here we go. The only reason I'm really fighting these enemies is because there's no food around anymore. It would probably be better to be carrying the food right now. Okay. Oh, level 4. Okay. Attack's gone up. And I can hold 5 now, which is cool. At the moment, I haven't been holding any. 180 degree turn. Okay. That look like the desert section of the map that I made it to then, which was like the other side. I'm not sure about this drive forward now, just because it went into the water. That's probably what I would look at. Guys, I'm going to leave it there, but I would be tweaking that obstacle section again. I reckon the drive forward's just a little bit too open-ended. I think you probably need to specify an amount of millimeters. And if you did coral reef cleanup enough, you would have worked out some pretty specific numbers that worked really well. I think it's going to be the same concept for this. Alrighty, guys. Best of luck. We will be doing a leaderboard at the end of each week. Send through your scores as a reply to my email. Don't reply all, please. Just reply to me. And let's maybe set up a little rule. Only email me a high score if you get over 1 day. Okay, so if you survive 1 day, not 0.1 days, but if you can get over 1 day, email me. Please attach the certificate as proof, and I will be sending out the leaderboard at the end of the week, and we'll see who's in first place for each grade level. This is open for years 2 to 6. Year 2, a lot of this is going to be very, very new to you, maybe even year 3. But there's some basics there, guys. You could just get your hex bug to roam around and get food. You don't necessarily need to do all the if-then-else blocks, and you might find that you actually get quite a good score. So this is one way you can do it. Some little tweaks, I'd be looking at the obstacles, and I'd also be looking at how to carry that food and maybe eat the food when the battery gets low. Okay, so there is a section in sensing you can see on the left-hand side that's going to allow you to detect when your battery gets low, and perhaps that's when you want to eat food. All the best, guys. Look forward to hearing your high scores. Thank you very much.